Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to this Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. Starting off here with, we've got some dense smoke advisories out here for the central interior and the middle Tanana Valley. That's out for tonight and through most of the day tomorrow until about 6 p.m. Friday. And that's out due to dense smoke that'll reduce visibilities to a mile or less occasionally in these areas again tonight and into tomorrow. Some cases may go down to a quarter mile again like it did at Tanana earlier, then improve throughout the day. Otherwise, there's a small stream flood advisory for the area there, the upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country north of Dot Lake. That's out through midday tomorrow in that area due to the rainfall they've had recently. Also, small stream flood advisories are out for the Alaska Range from about the Parks Highway eastward to the Richardson Highway. And there have been some pretty good rainfall amounts. Eielson Air Force Base picking up over an inch of rain in the last 24 hours. And Denali Park almost an inch and 3/4 in that same 24-hour period falling. So small stream flood advisories out for at least another 24 hours or so until tomorrow afternoon. They may cancel them out. The flood watch has been canceled here for the upper Tanana Valley, just that flood advisory out currently. And taking a look at the fire danger, still some high fire danger here over the Copper River Basin, and high fire danger still for the Matanuska Valley, Eagle River Valley, and areas down the western Kenai Peninsula here across Anchorage, and some areas down into the western Kenai Peninsula. And some areas of the Anchorage hillside got some wetting rains this morning, so kind of improving in some areas, but other areas not seeing much rainfall at all for quite some time, like the Eagle River Valley areas and other portions of Anchorage and the western Kenai Peninsula. Back to the west, though, we've got high fire danger, mostly from the Kuskokwim Mountains westward here, extending northeastward into the west central interior. Some extreme fire danger, looks like over the Koyukuk Valley and still over the upper Yukon Valley, over the northern areas there. And then the high fire danger extending back to the west across the Kobuk Valley to Selawik. And otherwise, again, with all the rainfall here over the eastern interior and the upper Tanana Valley, pretty good conditions there with not much in the way of fire danger compared to other areas. Looking at the satellite today, a pretty good low pressure area moving onshore near Cape Fairweather earlier, now pushing up into the Yukon. Was a pretty good rain and wind producer here with Haines picking up about 1.25 inches of rain in the last 24 hours, while Skagway had about 0.8 of an inch. Sitka and Juneau picking up about 1/2 inch of rain. And also winds pretty gusty. Haines or Skagway and Juneau seeing winds gusting to 35 miles an hour today. And Eldred Rock there in Lynn Canal had gusts to 60 miles per hour. That's moving through pretty good system for the first part of July. And then lighter rainfall amounts down the coastline there. Got into some sunshine down around Annette, and temperatures pushed up into the upper 60s this afternoon. A lot of sunshine here across Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula, as well as Kodiak Island. Temperatures getting into the lower 70s earlier today, with the rain, kind of a band of rainfall here from the central interior southward there across the Susitna Valley into western Cook Inlet, bringing all the rain again to the eastern interior and through this area earlier. That's dissipating and becoming more scattered and lighter amounts. And then we had a system back up here to the northwest, pushed a band of showers across the northwest valleys here, Kotzebue Sound. Band of rain came across the Seward Peninsula earlier today, and that trails back across the Yukon Delta coastline. That kicked the winds up to 45 miles an hour in gusts there at Cape Lisburne this afternoon. And winds coming down now. That whole system mostly pushing to the south, kind of a trough digging into the southwest interior here, less of a push to the east up to the north there. And then this system here bringing low center out there near the central Aleutians, that brought wind and rain to the eastern Aleutian areas in the Alaska Peninsula, both Dutch Harbor and Cold Bay seeing gusts up to about 35 miles an hour from the east and southeast. And going to one more loop there, you can see that system, bright cloud shield associated with it there, but most of the rain west of the Alaska Peninsula today, not too much at all, and lighter amounts, not really heavy here, even over the eastern Aleutians, but you can see all the clear skies over Bristol Bay with high pressure, about 1,021 millibar high in that area, keeping it dry and mostly sunny, and with a high here over Bristol Bay, lower pressure in the Gulf of Alaska there, the main center moving inland and weakening. Brought northwest winds of Kodiak Island, helped push the temperatures up into the lower 70s there today before they switched back around, became onshore, and cooled it off back into the 60s. Otherwise, we had the showers here through the central interior, areas of smoke again over the central interior, mid-Tanana Valley, excuse me, extending up into the upper Yukon Valley. Then we had scattered thunderstorms over the eastern north slope areas, eastern Brooks Range down into the northeastern portions of the upper Yukon Valley there, with still those moderate showers going on. Again, some places seeing as much as 2 inches of rain falling in the last day or so up over the eastern interior 40-mile country in upper Tanana Valley. Scattered showers over the Copper River Basin, and winds coming down now and rain changing and becoming more showery over the northern southeast coast. Just some scattered showers over around Yakutat, and then some sunshine breaking out over the southern panhandle. And then there's that frontal system off to the west there. We'll see tonight that keeps it wet, occasionally wet here for the eastern Aleutians. A batch of rain might slide by the Pribilof Islands. Looks like St. George would have the greater chance of seeing any precipitation later tonight. Light rain, and stays pretty breezy here over the Alaska Peninsula. Small craft advisories again with the higher pressure up here to the north, the lower pressure to the south and west. Enough of a gradient there for 25 to 30 knot winds. And then for Kodiak Island, fair, light winds, mostly clear skies, fair over the southwest interior, and still some scattered evening thunderstorms here up over the eastern Brooks Range areas. Otherwise, scattered showers over the eastern interior, again becoming lighter on the rainfall amounts and a little less heavy, with more scattered precipitation down in the Copper River Basin, upper Tanana Valley areas, and still some scattered showers back here over the west central interior, with those areas of smoke again from the northern Kuskokwim Valley all the way up into the upper Yukon there. And still a chance of showers tonight here for the western north slope areas, trailing down across the Seward Peninsula. Just light showers and pretty scattered, isolated showers over the eastern north slope as well, with the panhandle now pretty well all the moisture moving into the Yukon, Northwest Territories, just some lingering showers along the border there, high pressure building in. That should make for a dry day tomorrow with some partly to mostly sunny skies, mostly cloudy along the coast though. North Gulf Coast becoming mostly cloudy, kind of a change from the clear skies today, forecasting clouds into this area with marginal VFR. Otherwise, look for some scattered isolated thunderstorms along the Alaska Range, and also again up here over the eastern Brooks Range area with scattered showers over the central interior, back down along the Kuskokwim Mountains. Should be another mostly sunny day here over Bristol Bay, and looking pretty good into the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta areas. Just a risk of some showers here, mostly along the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula, in over Norton Sound. Patchy areas of fog, though, from the northern Bering Sea up through the Chukchi, and then around the Arctic coast, but nothing really widespread. Some areas of the Arctic coast, North Slope will stay VFR throughout the day tomorrow. But Kodiak Island, look for an increasing clouds tomorrow afternoon. The rain should stay south of the island through tomorrow and then lift northward tomorrow night. Looks wet here for the Alaska Peninsula. Still rain and fog, periods of there for the eastern Aleutians. And up into the southern Bering Sea, that Volca rain now sliding westward. So It'll go back south of the Pribilof Islands, so it should be a dry day with just cloudy skies and the rainfall chance late tonight into maybe early tomorrow morning. Scattered showers over the western and central Aleutians. And then for Saturday, shaping up like this, we'll see this frontal boundary and the moisture push northward as a warm front. So it looks pretty wet across Bristol Bay, with the exception of king salmon and the downsloping areas off the Aleutian Range there. But a lot of moisture feeding into the Bristol Bay area and extending back to the southwest again. Looks wet for the eastern Aleutian areas, apparently not quite as wet, but still good chance of rain there, more showery over the Alaska Peninsula. And the rain coming across Kodiak Island tomorrow night and then ending from the south throughout the day. May get into some partial clearing, maybe there in the afternoon, but looks like rain shifting up to the North Gulf Coast. So south central Alaska, cloudy skies on Saturday with, looks like the rainfall stays south of the Homer-Seldovia area, but pretty good chance into Seward, maybe slipping up into the western Prince William Sound areas, but definitely not for Valdez, and probably staying dry for Yakutat. And partly to mostly sunny skies, mostly cloudy along the coast there for the Panhandle. Mostly sunny back to the west and central interior areas, but still some scattered thunderstorms here along the eastern border down into the upper Yukon or upper Tanana Valley and into the eastern Copper River Basin areas. And then low clouds and fog probably leading to some IFR along the eastern Arctic coast, but staying VFR back to the west, North Slope looking really good under high pressure, and still occasionally wet out here over the eastern Aleutians with showers extending back to the west. Temperatures this afternoon, there's that 73 in Kodiak earlier, and mostly in the 50s, but Annette with some sunshine pushed up to 67 today with 61 at Wrangell, 58 at Yakutat, Juneau with the rain and wind, 53 degrees this afternoon, but up to 65 at Cordova, 64 in Valdez, and 63 at Gulkana. Otherwise upper 50s here for northern Cook Inlet and the Kenai area at 59. Seward, though, pushed up to 67 and 60 degrees down at Homer. Up along the eastern Tanana Valley, Northway had 62 with a 53 at Delta. Fairbanks up to 62, 64 at Tanana. 59 at Fort Yukon, at 70-degree reading in Eagle, 66 at Anatuvik and Bettles there, 64 up at Dead Horse, but Barrow just 45, although inland areas a little warmer there at Tusuk at 57, 48 at Wainwright with 40s all the way down the coastline to Point Hope and Cape Lisburne. Even Kevalina 46, but Kotzebue a few degrees warmer there with 50, same as Buckland, mostly in the 40s there with that clouds and rain coming across the Seward Peninsula, 44 at Nome, 61 today at McGrath with temperatures approaching 70 down at Bethel with some sunshine this afternoon, 48 out in Macoriac, 45 there at Gamble. And for the Pribilof Islands, lower 50s, same thing for the eastern Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, but in the sunshine here, not too bad, lower to mid 60s across much of the Alaska Peninsula, and king salmon up to 70 with near 50 out over the Aleutians. And for the lows tonight, mild mid 50s here over the upper Yukon Valley, otherwise upper 40s to lower 50s through much of the remainder of the interior. South central Alaska, 50 to 55 for the lows tonight. Of course, cooler over the Copper River Basin in the 40s, 50s down across the southeast coast, 40s out here to the west over the Alaska Peninsula and the Bering Sea, lower 40s, and mid 30s for the lows for the central Arctic coast. For the highs tomorrow, lower to mid 40s up in that area with kind of cooler conditions back here to the northwest, but warming up again into the lower to mid 70s here over the southwest interior. Susitna Valley, Cook Inlet, look for more sunshine tomorrow. Temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s. And Tanana Valley, upper 60s to near 70 there. So kind of a little bit more in the way of a warming trend going on. It may last a whole day. Otherwise, for the southeast coast, upper 60s to lower 60s, kind of depending on where you are down there. Flying weather, there's marginal VFR in the forecast here along the southeast coast and possibly even over the some eastern areas there. That'd be early on, and that'll extend back possibly into Prince William Sound. Still looking for VFR for Kodiak tomorrow with the lower conditions approaching from the south, but staying to the south of Sitkinak throughout the day with IFR back across the eastern Aleutians probably for the next couple of days there. IFR also possible over the northern Bering Sea. Chance of thunderstorms again along the Alaska Range, and then marginal VFR due to smoke here. Could be some isolated areas of IFR as well with visibilities under 3 miles in some places, especially late tonight and early tomorrow morning, but that shouldn't prove to marginal VFR or even some VFR through this area tomorrow afternoon. Marginal VFR possible there along the eastern Arctic coast. Otherwise, the remainder of the North Slope up there and the Arctic coast in the VFR. Anaktuvik open tomorrow, north and south. Same forecast for Adigan, Brooks Range, VFR. Western Alaska Range, Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. Rainy VFR, chance of a thunderstorm. Isolated thunderstorms also possible for windy with VFR flying conditions through the pass. Isabel and Mentasta both open VFR, and Tanita will be VFR with Portage, should be VFR. Possible lower conditions on the eastern entrance there as usual, and for Chilkoot and White, VFR. Looking at the freezing levels, 6,000 feet here down over the western Tanana and Kuskokwim Valley areas, otherwise about 6,000 to 8,000 feet across south central Alaska, roughly about 8,000 feet here across the Panhandle as well, not much thermal gradient, and even out to the west there, freezing levels running 8,000 to 10,000 feet. And icing threats tomorrow, again with that system coming down from the northwest, there could be enough moisture for some light to isolated moderate rime or mixed icing here from the central interior mid-Tanana Valley back to the west there across Norton Sound, mostly to the south of the Seward Peninsula though, and then this area shifting northward, again should stay south of Kodiak Island, maybe catching the Trinity Islands, and then back to the west across the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and then across the southern Bering Sea, and that'll stay south of the Pribilofs. And for the upper level wind flow chart, there's that trough coming today back more in this area. That'll kind of slip into the southwest, but just some kind of cool and showery conditions will stay back to the west here south of the Alaska Range, and actually over the southwest interior looking pretty good tomorrow. And this is the upper level low slowly pulling off into the Northwest Territories that brought all the wind and rain into the Panhandle today, and then the system out there in the Aleutians. And moving on to the 9,000 foot winds, pretty brisk here, 35 to 40 knot winds across the Alaska Peninsula and into the southern Bering Sea there, dropping back with the low center just near the central Aleutians, so coming down to about 10 knots there, but pretty brisk winds, easterlies across the Bering Sea tomorrow. Lighter, more variable, kind of a southwest flow here, both at 9,000 and 3,000 feet through the central interior, but pretty light winds just about everywhere else there. And then these stronger winds from the east and southeast across the Alaska Peninsula and into the central Bering Sea. Pretty light winds from the west there across the Panhandle. Turbulence-wise, with those stronger winds, occasional moderate chop below 6,000 feet here for the Alaska Peninsula, on up into the Pribilof Islands, and then turbulence kind of on the increase there for Kodiak Island. This area lifting northward tomorrow night. And after hangar flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
It's Zubin Eshamali and Zubin El Janubi time. Welcome to Stargazers. I'm James Albury from the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida.
I'm Dean Regas from the Cincinnati Observatory, and we're here to help you. Be sure you know what you're seeing in the night sky when you look up.
Once again, my friends, it's Zubin Eshamali and Zubin El Janubi time.
So loosen up your tongue
And fasten your cosmic seatbelts.
let's go outside to find them. Okay, we've got our skies set up for any night during the next couple of weeks, just after dark. And if you look south, you'll see the giant fishhook-shaped constellation of Scorpius the Scorpion, followed by the teapot-shaped portion of Sagittarius. But up and to the right of the fishhook of Scorpius, you'll see two semi-bright stars with some of the strangest sounding names in the heavens, Zubin Eshamali and Zubin El Janubi.
Now, in Arabic, Zubin Eshamali means the northern claw, while Zubin El Janubi means the southern claw. And about 3,000 years ago, they were the claws of the scorpion. But then Julius Caesar and his cronies came along and lopped them off, and renamed them Libra the Scales for the Roman scales of justice.
Ooh, I'll bet that's smarted. At any rate, these two stars are wonderful, and although they appear visually to be the same brightness from Earth, actually they are very, very different.
For instance, Zubin El Janubi is about 65 light years away from our planet Earth and shines 25 times brighter than our own sun. And it's approaching us at the incredible speed of 6 miles per second. And upon closer examination, we also find that Zubin El Janubi is not just one, not even two, but three stars. two of them so close together that they orbit each other once every 20 days.
On the other hand, Zubin Eshmali, the northern claw, is over twice as far away as Zubin el-Janubi, being 140 light years distant. And although it appears the same brightness as its claw companion, it's not. It's 6 times brighter than Zubin el-Janubi, which means that it's over 150 times brighter than our sun. And it's speeding toward us 4 times faster than Zubin el-Janubi at a rate of 21 miles per second. Furthermore, Zubin Eshmali is also at the center of a centuries-old debate.
You see, over 2,000 years ago, Zubin Eshmali was listed as the brightest of all stars of the Scorpion, even brighter than Antares. A few centuries later, however, the great astronomer Ptolemy described Antares as equal to Zubin Eshmali in brightness.
But today, Antares appears 5 times brighter than Zubin Eshmali. Has Zubin Eshmali dimmed in the past 2,000 years? Or conversely, has Antares gotten much, much brighter? We can't say for sure, but it's always fun to try to pronounce these 2 tongue twisters of summer.
Absolutely. Sing out those names, Dean. You know you want to.
Zubin, Zubin el-Janubi, Zubin, Eshmali, Zubin.
Okay, that's enough. Now, let's see what the planets are doing this week. Okay, we have our skies set for just after sunset facing west this week. And you're going to have a super opportunity to watch the planet Venus slowly pull away from Jupiter night after night following their great conjunction on June 30th. They'll both be dropping lower and lower each night and will soon disappear into the glare of the setting sun.
But wait, there's more. On the night of July 18th, a slender crescent moon will cozy up with Venus and give you a triple header with Jupiter, Venus, and a skinny, slender crescent moon. And if you haven't had a chance to look for Saturn, this is a great time to find it because it will be very close to the tongue twister stars.
Look into the south once again. There's the Scorpion, and off to their right,
Zubin, el-Janubi, Zubin, Eshmali.
Don't bust a gut. They're only star names. Now, between the head of the Scorpion and
Zubin el-Janubi and Zubin Eshmali
lies the brighter spot of light. That is Saturn. Last year at this time, Saturn was between
Zubin el-Janubi and Zubin Eshmali.
Okay, in 1 year, Saturn has moved this far in the sky, justifying the name planet, which from Greek means the Wanderers. So get outside and watch the Wanderers do what they do best.
And don't forget to do some Zubin Eshmali and Zubin el-Janubi while you're at it.
It's easy to do if you remember to
Keep looking up.
Welcome back. Well, southwest flow is going to persist along the ice edge here through Monday, but it's so compact there along the ice edge, any retreat is going to be minimal. So Monday's analysis should look something much like what we see here for today. So on to the marine forecast here. Southerly winds 20 to 25 knots there for northern Lynn Canal, and lighter winds down in the central inner channels. Northwest 15 for Clarence Strait, and westerlies 10 to 15 out along the coast. And then for Saturday, southerly winds 25 knots for northern Lynn Canal, and lighter winds there for Stevens Passage. Southerly at about 10 knots with seas 2 feet or less. Northwest 20 knots for Clarence Strait with seas up to 4 feet. Northwest winds here along the south coast 15 to 20 knots, and a reversal southeast for the north coast. Lighter though, 10 to 15 knots with seas running 4 to 5 feet there along the entire stretch. And for the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound and Cook Inlet, light variable winds tomorrow. Southeasterlies at about 15 here for the western Gulf Coast. Up to 25 knots there for Kodiak Island, but southeasterlies 15 into Kamishak Bay. And then the outlook for Saturday, looks like some gale force easterlies coming into the Barren Islands with 30-knot winds for the western Gulf Coast, less wind off to the east. East 10 for Prince William Sound. Northeast winds pretty brisk here for the Kamishak Bay area and into Shelikof Strait, up to 30 knots, but just 20 knots from the southeast there. Stronger winds will be coming by Kodiak Island Friday night. And for Bristol Bay, east winds at 20 knots for tomorrow, 25-knot winds. Small craft advisories here for the Alaska Peninsula, easterlies 25 to 30 knots. And then the outlook for Saturday, small craft advisory still here on the Bering Sea side of both Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. and southeast 20 knots there from Sitkinak over to about Chignik or Sandpoint, and then more of an easterly direction at about the same speed. Seas running 7 to 9 feet. And for the Aleutians, north to northeast, 20 knots here for the western Aleutians. The central areas, southeast at about 15. Small craft advisories for the Fox Islands tomorrow. And then on Saturday, that becomes more east-southeasterly at about 20. Lighter winds there, really laying down here for the central Aleutians. Light variable winds, 10 knots or less, with seas, though, still up to about 6 to 7 feet. And northeast winds, 15 to 20 knots for the western areas. And for the southwest coast, east to northeast, 15 to 20 knots tomorrow. Westerlies, though, at 20 knots for St. Lawrence Island. And then back to the east here for the northern Bering Sea, and small craft advisories out for the Pribilof Islands. And that continues into Saturday as well. The northern Bering Sea, small craft advisories here south of Nunivak Island, northeast 20 north of Nunivak Island, and northeast at 15 for St. Lawrence Island. For the eastern Arctic coast, central and eastern Arctic coast, northwest winds tomorrow at about 10 knots, light easterlies here along the western coast, and then from Wales up to Cape Lisburne, southerlies at about 15 knots, or 10 to 15 knots. And then we're looking at 20-knot winds here off the western Capes, and lighter winds there for the Chukchi Sea and the western Arctic coast. Pretty light winds, and actually light winds all along the east side as well, northwest 5 to 10 knots. And for tonight, again, some scattered showers here over the interior, diminishing. Conditions improving there over the Panhandle, diminishing winds, less rain. Rain for the eastern Aleutians, and still windy across the Alaska Peninsula. And then rain for the Alaska Peninsula to go along with the wind tomorrow. Less wind, but still wet for the Dutch Harbor area, and scattered thunderstorms along the Alaska Range. Otherwise, drier and more sun here over south central Alaska, and staying nice in the southwest and dry over the Panhandle. And should be a partly to mostly sunny day here for most of the southeast coast on Saturday as well, with rain coming up to the North Gulf Coast and then down across Bristol Bay. But a lot of sun back to the west and north with scattered showers over the eastern interior.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.